I have this ability to take really complex things and simplify them into really tangible ways that people can just be like, oh, I get it. Of course, that's exactly what I got to do. So for me, it was more about, I want to take these really out there concepts and make them really attainable and accessible for people, because I don't want people giving up on manifesting, because it absolutely does work. But because they're maybe not understanding or hearing it from a perspective that they resonate with or that it clicks in them, they're then thinking, oh, well, it's not for me. It works for everybody else, but it's not for me. So I feel like, even now, if it's manifesting, if it's anything that you want to start or you have a calling or passion towards, nobody is going to share it like you will. Nobody is going to share it in the same energy as you. Like, nobody can be you.
Welcome to the House of Jermar podcast, where wellness starts within. The House of Jermar is a lifestyle brand, empowering women to live all in through interior design and personal wellness. We are a destination for women ready to reimagine what is possible in their homes and lives, and then create it. We are honored to have you join us on our mission to empower 1 million women to live all in. I am your host, Jean Collins, and I invite you to become inspired by this week's guest. Welcome to the House of Jermar podcast, where wellness starts within. I'm your host, Jean Collins, and today we are talking about my favorite subject, manifestation, the law of attraction. And we are doing that with Emma Mumford. And I am just honored that she is on my show because, folks, not only is she just the queen of spirituality, she is just an amazing entrepreneur. And her journey to being an entrepreneur, her journey in embracing manifestation and really helping the world understand the powers within themselves is just so inspiring. And she has a new book coming out, which we are recording before the book is out, but this will launch right after the book comes out. So I can't wait to dig into her new book. So Emma, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jean. How are you doing?
Oh, I am so great. I read your book. So here, everybody, for people that are watching, and we're going to tag this, Positively Wealthy. I read that at the beginning of January of 2024. And at the end of 2024, I put together a list of my favorite books of the year. And I happened to list yours as one of my favorite books because you walk people through everyday things to do to manifest abundance within your life for wealth and your life. And it was such a well-written, I did all the stuff. I did the moon rituals. I did the, writing yourself a check and putting it in your wallet. Like, I did all the stuff. And I found it was just really powerful. And your delivery and the way you write is amazing. So I am so excited for your newest book, Aligned Abundance. I cannot wait. We are going to get into that. But before we do, let's share with everybody your journey, because you did not start out as the queen of spirituality and the queen of manifesting in the law of attraction. So if you would mind, if you could share a little bit about your journey and how you got to be where you are today.
Yeah, so I was actually known as the queen of coupons, ironically, before the queen of spirituality. So really my journey starts back in 2012 when I was working as a banking manager in a well-known bank here in the UK. Not a career that I aspired to, not something that I ever saw myself getting into, but I was just kind of falling into corporate jobs and roles and kind of finding my feet at such a young age as well, having not gone to university or anything. I was in that job in my first not so great relationship. And at the end of that relationship, I took out, well, obviously before we broke up, I took out a loan of over £7,000 worth of money to cover his debt. We were having debt collectors turn up at the door. And that was a lot for an 18-year-old to be going through. Obviously, you're like, what is happening? How would you deal with these things? It was kind of, really thrust me into adulthood of dealing with, a situation that I just had never dealt with before. So being the practical Virgo that I am, I was like, well, I get preferential rates in my job. Why don't we take out a loan? I'll take it out in my name. We can pay it off. Then you can pay me back. And in my head, it sounded like such a great idea.
Such a great idea.
Such a great idea. But you can imagine what happened straight afterwards. The relationship broke down. And still to this day, he's never paid a penny of that loan. So 18 years old, I've got $7,000 debt, which wasn't even mine, but now is legally my responsibility to clear. I am experiencing crippling anxiety and depression at that time as well. I couldn't even then go into my job at the bank because I was having panic attacks every single day. And looking back, it's so clear to see why I was, because I was going into work and being targeted to put people in debt. So you can imagine I'm in debt, I'm putting people in debt, I'm seeing people's triggers around money all day long, then being triggered by it myself. So it was just a recipe for disaster at that point in my life to be in that role. So I left that job and just got a part-time retail job just to start clearing this debt, get myself sorted after the breakup and moving back home. So that was kind of like the big first awakening, so to speak. And in that period, I found extreme couponing, which in the States is obviously well known, but in the UK, nobody was couponing. It was such a taboo here. And I thought, well, if the Americans can do it, so incredible, like surely we can do it here in the UK. So I took it upon myself to find coupons and discounts and freebies and things like that to just help myself in that, financial debt and get out of debt, because that was the only way that I really could get out of that debt at that time. So about after 6 months, my friends are like, Emma, you've got this whole stockpile, this whole spare room of stuff, like you're really good at this. Like, can we have some stuff? And also, can you share this with people? Like, people probably would love to know how to do this. And I was like, well, who am I to share about couponing? We've got money saving experts here in the UK. Like, who am I to do that? So after a lot of pestering, I did start up a Facebook group, and it was called Extreme Couponing and Deals UK. And within 6 months, it had over 100,000 followers. I was then invited on national TV here in the UK. I was presenting on This Morning, which is a huge daytime TV show here. And it was just a bit wild, to be honest, to have gone from having panic attacks in the toilet at work, in the bank, to being on national TV, helping people save money in 6 months. It was just bizarre. And I felt totally like an imposter, being like, how I'm not an expert in money at all, clearly. But, I'm here just trying to help myself get out of a really shitty situation and trying to help other people do the same. So I ran that business for 6 years. And by the time I came to sell it in 2018, it had over 500,000 followers and had helped so many people do exactly what I'd done, save for financial goals in their life and all kinds of things. And it really gave me such a purpose to be able to help people and, help myself get out of that situation as well. So I never went into it thinking it could be a business. Absolutely not. I had no idea you could make a business out of couponing. But about a year in, and I always call this like a guardian angel moment, a year into running that business, I get this message from this man, and he says, oh, Emma, you realize you could be affiliate marketing your whole business and turn it into a business and earn money for all the things you already do. And of course, I was like, here we go. Here's the scammers. Like, what does this man want from me?
Yes.
This is a big old scam. And he was like, no, like I actually have a group. You can come and join my group and like see me doing it. And like, I'll tell you the sites to sign up to. And for some reason, I trusted this man and was like, okay, I will trust your wisdom. And within 2 weeks, he'd set me up with everything. And I'd signed up, and they were all legit websites, all legit affiliate marketing websites. And about a month in, I was earning more than I'd ever earned in a corporate job or any other role that I'd had. So I was like, wow, like I'm running a business. I've got money. I can clear my debt. This is incredible. So I went back to go and thank him. Like I wanted to send him something to just say, thank you for showing me how to do this. Like he didn't have to do that at all. And, a selfless person just wanted to help me to create a business. And I went back, the group was gone, his Facebook profile was gone. Every single part of him was wiped from the Facebook, the internet, everywhere.
No.
I could not find this man. And still to this day, I cannot find his profile. So I'm convinced it was a guardian angel moment of like, this is what you're meant to be doing, Emma. So that always really gives me the shivers of like.
I was going to say, I have goosebumps. As you are telling this story, I literally have goosebumps all over. Wow.
Because it was just so random. Like, who with an established business just deletes everything off Facebook? And I did check from multiple profiles in case he blocked me, and he definitely hadn't blocked me. So it was just coincidence. It was just whatever it was. But I love to see it as, a guardian angel moment. So I was running my business for 6 years. And then 2016 is when I had my spiritual awakening. And this was, again, ironically, at the end of a not so great relationship. This time, my anxiety and depression had continued over that period. And I think it was a weird time because I think a lot of people would look at my life and think, well, you've got an incredibly successful 6-figure business. You're like 20 years old. You're presenting on This Morning. You're doing all these incredible things. How can you be depressed? How can you have anxiety? But the reality was so different, and like, especially behind closed doors. But for me, my couponing business, I really do think saved me in so many ways and really just gave me purpose to wake up in the morning and, help and serve people. So I do think that business was 100% meant to be in my life at that time. But then I found the law of attraction. And this was in my darkest days. I was suicidal at that time. I was having suicidal thoughts, not great relationship going on. And it was just, probably the darkest times of my life. And I found the law of attraction. And I remember looking outside my window at 2 a.m. in the morning and just saying, like, God, help me. And I don't know, I mean, I would probably say I was atheist, to be honest, at that point. I didn't really have a faith in God or a belief in anything, really. I think I'd given up because I kind of felt like if there was a God, like, why would I feel this way? Why would other people suffer? Why would these bad things happen in the world? So for me, I was definitely an atheist at that point. So I don't know what in me called God or God help me. But
Right.
I know that it was almost my ego giving up on my soul being like, come on, it's time to remember who you are. It's like time to tune into everything. So a couple of days later, I came across the term, the law of attraction, through this lovely blonde haired lady when I searched on Google how to turn a negative situation into a positive. Little did I know it was Louise Hay at the time, but there was me watching this video. And I was like, this woman talks a lot of sense.
Love her. Oh my goodness.
And a lot of people say Louise Hay does find them and then they find the law of attraction. So I definitely am part of that camp. So yeah, I always feel like the law of attraction finds you at the time that it's meant to. And just like couponing, it was really something positive that felt like a remembering. It didn't feel like couponing where I was learning a skill. It was like a remembering, like, of course, this is how life works. Of course, this is, what has contributed to my life so far. So it just felt like something really amazing that I could put my energy towards, just like the couponing. So about a year into me sharing on my YouTube, because my YouTube was definitely more personal than just money saving, although it was focused on money saving. I'd share on there about books I was reading and self-help and spirituality and law of attraction and what I was manifesting. And my community were like, why don't you share more about this? Like, you're clearly good at this. You're manifesting all these things. You've manifested getting out of debt. You've manifested healing your depression. You've manifested all these things. Like, we want your tips. So again, I had that moment of, well, who am I to teach the law of attraction?
Yes, right. Yes, there are all these other people that are, been doing it a lot longer and are really well known for it. So who am I?
Exactly. So I knew in my soul, and I'd had a psychic reading with a psychic that I'd been to so many times before at that moment. And she said, it's time to put both of your feet on your spiritual path and manifest the buyer for your business, your couponing business, and step into this fully. And I knew it was what I was meant to do, but it equally wasn't just like an easy step for me to give up such, I guess, like stability in my life with the couponing business, stability in money, stability in so many things, to risk it all for this spiritual business. And again, just like couponing, the law of attraction in the UK was not spoken about, completely taboo, completely woo-woo, and nobody was talking about it. Now, everybody and their dog's talking about it. So It makes my life a lot easier when I'm talking about it to mainstream press or, like people who are like, yeah, I've heard of manifesting. So it did feel like a big risk because it wasn't as accepted as it is today 9 years ago. It just wasn't. But I trusted. Somehow I trusted, and I manifested selling my business in 2018, and I've been running this one ever since.
Oh my goodness. So you said so many things that are so interesting, but one of them I want to point out is you were talking about just having this gut feeling and this gut instinct that you were supposed to make this switch, even though you have this bird talking to you being like, who am I? Who am I? And that imposter syndrome, I think, is something that I want to talk about for a minute, because I think that is something that so many entrepreneurs struggle with. So many women in particular struggle with. Why am I the person to deliver this message or do this job or start this company when there already are, 10 other people doing this? And why me? So would you mind just sharing a little bit? How did you really overcome that? Because that is a big one, especially you're not just talking about starting a different career. You are talking about moving into spirituality and woo. And honestly, that's like enough to make you lose all your friends.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really was at that time. So I think I've just always had a natural determination, and I think it definitely is woven into my astrology and numerology, because so many people who have read those have told me this. But
Yeah.
I think for me, especially in the UK, there was nobody talking about manifesting at that time. And I was like, there's not a relatable face for people here in the UK of someone in the UK really manifesting. Like, people did it on YouTube and things. I wasn't the first person. And obviously, as you said, there were so many great authors out there like Gabby Bernstein, Esther and Jerry Hicks, Rhonda Byrne, like all these incredible books and legends out there, but they were all American as well. So for me, I was like, I didn't go into it being like, I'll be the face of manifesting in the UK. Definitely not. But I went into it being like, well, I want more UK content as well. So I'm sure other people would love to hear about people in the UK manifesting. So that was more why I pursued it and why I thought, and as well, I think it's just nice when you can go on YouTube and see everyday people manifesting. And what I really came to learn quickly in that process was all of these great books that I was reading were 10, 20, 30 plus years old. And energy was working very differently at this point. And even now, energy works so differently. If I read the books that were written 20 plus years ago, they work, of course, and they're fantastic. But things evolve, things change, and energy definitely is working. And, what we want as humans is evolving as well in terms of spiritual connection and our understanding of spirituality and manifesting. So those books were fantastic, but I feel like they just didn't really get to like the nitty gritty of manifesting. And I was hitting these blocks around letting go. I was hitting these blocks around surrendering and also understanding the manifesting process as well. Again, must be the Virgo in me, but I have this ability to take really complex things and simplify them into really tangible ways that people can just be like, oh, I get it. Of course, that's exactly what I got to do. So for me, it was more about, I want to take these really out there concepts and make them really attainable and accessible for people, because I don't want people giving up on manifesting, because it absolutely does work. But because they're maybe not understanding or hearing it from a perspective that they resonate with or that it clicks in them, they're then thinking, oh, well, it's not for me. It works for everybody else, but it's not for me. So I feel like, even now, if it's manifesting, if it's anything that you want to start or you have a calling or passion towards, nobody is going to share it like you will. Nobody is going to share it in the same energy as you. Like, nobody can be you. We could read off the same book, but the energy would be different. The way that people hear it would be different. So what I'm sharing is not like groundbreakingly new things. It's all the same. None of us created manifesting, spirituality, self-love, like all these things. Like, none of us created them. We are all just channeling from the universe, from the source, but communicating it with, through our different skills, through our different energies. And it will resonate and land with people differently. 7, 8 billion people are not all going to read one book and resonate with it or understand it at the level that the author wants them to understand it. So I think that we need variety and we need different perspectives from people from all walks of life, so that people have somebody they can connect with and resonate with and understand those teachings on a deeper level. So I'm not sure if that answered your question, but that's how I feel about it.
It definitely did. It definitely did. So I don't know if it's possible to even like dummy it down a little bit, but if we have someone who's listening that's like, manifesting, okay, what does that actually mean? Like, what's she talking about? What's she going to tell me to do? Is there at a really high level? Because you have books about this, right? So it's like, we can't talk about the whole book in 45 minutes. But at a really high level, what are maybe just some key steps that people can take to start to embrace the concept of manifesting, and what even really is it?
Yeah. And I think as we've said, a lot of people hear about manifesting or the law of attraction, but they're like, what on earth is this? How is everybody manifesting? What are they manifesting?
Yeah.
So manifesting, or the law of attraction as it's more formally known, is one of the 7 energetic laws of the universe. So it's the notion that determines like attracts like in life. So I like to see it a bit like a divine mirror. So how you're showing up to the divine mirror of life is what is being reflected back to you. So if you are going about your day, spreading positivity, feeling optimistic, saying positive things, you are going to be attracting more positive energy towards you through conversations, through experiences, through abundance. But on the flip side, if we're going about our day feeling pessimistic or complaining or, really reveling in those annoying moments that happen in life and telling loads of people about it, and then something else annoying happens and we go and tell more people about it, we know the score. We're going to feel rubbish at the end of the day. We're going to feel like, my energy feels so low. And this is the law of attraction in action. So our thoughts, our energy, and our vibration creates our reality. Now, I always caveat this with, not every single one of our thoughts will manifest. I think a lot of the time people are like, I could never think a bad thought again. And that is just not true. We have between 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Not all of them manifest, and we do not live in a world of instantaneous manifestation. Thank God. So Not everything you think will manifest or happen, but it is our consistent energy and our limiting beliefs, fears, and identities that create our reality. So it's the beliefs that we hold, it's the identities that we hold, and our consistent, persistent vibration that does create the energy and experiences that we experience in our life. So that is what the law of attraction is. But in terms of what you can manifest, there are no limits to what you can manifest. So you might hear a lot of the time that people manifest materialistic things, like whether it's a house, money, love, jobs, cars, or, holidays, all of those wonderful things. So there are no limits to what you can manifest, but you can also manifest emotional things as well. So healing, love, for example, happiness. So whether it's emotional, whether it's healing, whether it's a physical thing, there are no limits to what you can call into your life. All you have to do is ask. But as you'll know from my books, I break the 3 original steps of ask, believe, receive in the manifesting process down into 5 steps, just because, as I was explaining earlier, when I was going along my journey and, really looking at what was working, what wasn't working, looking at my clients, my community, I realized there was this huge leap from believe all the way to receive. And I was like, well, what happens in the middle? Like, a lot happens in the middle. And I think a lot of people were like, what do I do? How do I get from step 2 to step 3? So I feel like breaking it down into the 5 steps of ask, believe, trust, let go, and receive just allows people to track better where they are in that process and understand what goes into this process, and also the co-creation that happens in this process as well, because it is a co-creation process. It's not us going 90, 100% of the way. We go 50% of the way, and the universe meets us 50% of the way. So I just feel that those 5 steps really emanate that more and help people to be able to understand what their focuses should be, where they need to, put their energy, and also track better where they are in the process so they're not getting blocked.
It's so great. And one of my favorites that you talk about is letting go. That is really, I think, a critical part of the process, and that it doesn't appear in the first 3. If you just have 3 steps, letting go doesn't appear, because a lot of it is not being so tied to the timing of the outcome or the path to the outcome, and having a little bit more faith and letting go and allowing the universe to do the work. And you also talk about the work that you need to do too. Like you just said, it's a co-creation process. You don't just put out there, I want a Lamborghini, and then just wait for it to be delivered at your door. It doesn't work that way. So I love that your books have very practical applications of things that you can do and journal and write about and think about, and actions that you can do to keep your energy in the vibration of attracting what you want to attract, which is so great. So can we talk about your new book?
Of course.
It's coming out, Aligned Abundance. So how do these, just out of curiosity, how do these books come to you? Do you meditate and all of a sudden you're like, there's another book? Or is someone out there, is your publicist saying you need to write another book? How do the books come to you?
They normally literally drop into my head at the most random times. sometimes in the shower. I
Yeah.
was on a dog walk when book 5 dropped into my head a couple of months ago. And I was like, I haven't even released book 4 yet, universe. Like, I want a holiday. Gosh, give me a
Right.
break.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely is random. But Spiritual Queen, my first book, definitely was a book that I think was always in me and that I just knew I wanted to bring out into the world. Positively Wealthy definitely dropped into my head because I love a good challenge. I love, setting challenges and tasks and actions. And that's something in my business and my work I've always done. So it just made sense to really make it into a fun 33-day manifesting challenge and have almost like a reset that people can do to really kickstart that manifesting process and understand the law of attraction, if they're completely new to it as well. Hurt, Healing, Healed definitely dropped in as well. And I think that was more, they always follow this journey of the season of my life I'm in as well. So they kind of,
Ah,
although you could pick any of them up and as a complete beginner, like that you don't have to do them in order at all, but they do definitely kind of follow on from one another really beautifully. So with Hurt, Healing, Healed, it was more of what I was going through at that time. And I just knew that there are no books out there on healing and the inner work in the manifestation process. And this is the book I needed when I was going through all of this. So whilst my publisher always sends me emails saying, right, what's the next book? What do you want to work on next? I never listen to them because I'm like, nope, I don't just want to write for the sake of it. I want to write, a book that's really going to help people and really serve people and be, incredibly fun to write as well. Like, I don't want it to feel like a chore or I'm doing it for the sake of getting a book out there because I don't need to do that. I do enough in my business. I don't need
right.
to have many more on my plate. So for me, when I do say yes to a book, it comes in strong and I know that I'm excited to walk that journey because I know that I'm going to live that book first to be able to write it and teach it. And it's beautiful to look back on those books and think, yeah, like that was what I was going through at that time in my life. And look what came out of that. And now that's going to help other people. So, yeah, definitely intuition. They definitely drop into my head, but it's definitely random. It's not always in like a serene meditative state. It's sometimes having a shower.
I always found that I wrote my best presentations in the shower
Yep.
or going for a walk and being in nature. And now as an entrepreneur, like my best ideas for a business, like the aha moments often come to me during one of those two things or journaling.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like when you're not in a mindset of like expecting the universe to deliver it, that's often when it like pops in and you're like, oh, wow, look at that. That's so cool. All right. So the title, Aligned Abundance. What is this book about?
Well, it's very different because people say, right, Emma, you teach manifestation. What is the difference between your books? Do I just get one? Is this one, just better than the others? And no, they definitely don't cancel each other out. They
Yeah.
all have their own special purpose and mission. So Positively Wealthy, I would say, is like the perfect beginner book. If you're new to manifesting, you want to dip your toes in and you want to do a fun challenge to see what results you can get and put it to the test, basically. So I always advise that book for anybody who wants to dip their toes in who hasn't done manifesting before. Healing Healed is almost like the next step. So then when blocks come up, if maybe you've done manifesting for a while, if you tried it and you know that there's some limiting beliefs or inner work there, or there's resistance, something's not working. Maybe you're feeling blocked. You've been trying to manifest something for a while and you don't know what the block is. Hurt, Healing, Healed is the book for that. So anybody listening who is in that place, definitely that book is the one for you. Aligned Abundance is almost again like that next step. And this was almost like the next step in my journey after the inner work. And I really feel it focuses on those steps of trust and let go more. So definitely those steps are echoed the most throughout this book. But the subtitle is Release Expectations, Become Magnetic, and Manifest the Life of Your Dreams. And this book was such a joy to write. Not that the others weren't, but healing and inner work was quite a heavy topic, I won't lie, to write over 18 months. So this book felt so fun. It channeled through in 9 months, which is the quickest I've ever written a book. So it was so much fun to live and experience and write that and plan it as well for everybody. And this book is all about manifesting manifesting from embodiment and also from alignment and regulation. So it talks a lot about nervous system regulation and why we need to be manifesting from a regulated space. It talks about embodiment, which is not spoken about anywhere in the manifesting sphere either. And it's one of the most important steps in the manifesting process in that step 4 of letting go. And it also talks about alignment, obviously with the title, Aligned Abundance.
Right.
Alignment is the big overarching theme of that book. And again, can you believe there are no books out there on alignment in the manifestation process? So I was like, right, my opportunity to write that book then, because this is what I've lived and breathed for the last 4 years. Back in 2021, I created a course called Attract Alignment Abundance. And this was when I really started to dive into alignment teachings and learn this for myself. And that course has sold out every single year that we've done it. And it really inspired the foundations for this book. But as with all my books, it just went on its own journey and now is unrecognizable and completely different to the course. So we say the course inspired it, but it's completely different to the course that I created in 2021. But there's so much in this around magnetism. It's definitely an energy-based book where you're going to learn to hack your nervous system, regulate your nervous system, most importantly, manifest through embodiment, manifest through alignment, and learn how to use the energy work of manifestation and alignment to make it effortless. So this book is not, you've got more work to do. This book is, we're going to put all that work down and we're going to focus on the important energy work that you need to do to be that vibrational match. So loads of fun exercises, meditations, and it's just such a really beautiful book to turn up your magnetism and see the alignment process in action. So I can't wait for people to read it.
I can't wait to read it. I love it. So I have one quick question on everything that you said for people that are listening that might not understand everything that you said. When you say embodiment and how critical that is, you mentioned that a couple of times, and how critical that is to letting go. What do you mean by embodiment for people who don't understand what that is?
Yes. And ironically, I literally did a podcast episode on this yesterday for my own podcast. So it is the acting as if process. So what I basically debunk is myths around acting as if, because a lot of people have heard of acting as if in the manifesting process, which is an Esther and Jerry Hicks teaching, but it's very been miscommunicated through books, through coaches, as almost like spending as if. And that is going to dysregulate our nervous systems straight up. So what I really go into in the book and teach in embodiment is it's feeling as if, not spending as if, feeling as if. It is alignment. It is becoming and integrating that version of yourself who has your desires. So when we first set an intention, we might be over here and feel like, how on earth am I going to be that version of myself all the way over here? It can feel like such a big leap and jump to people to think, how am I going to become that person who has my desire? So what embodiment teaches is, there are practical parts to it, of course, through actions, through tools in the book that I walk you through, but it really is a feeling experience, because that is what manifesting is. Feeling. I want you to tap into the feelings of how you want to feel with that money, how you want to feel with that relationship, because you could manifest that money, you could manifest that relationship and be absolutely miserable. And that is not, hopefully it's not what you want. I think a lot of people would say, no, I don't want that. So it's so important to focus on the feelings and emotions of how you want to experience those manifestations. It's not just getting the thing. And, it's never the money that we want. It's never the money that we want. No. It's a feeling or an experience that the money can bring us. So embodiment is really tapping into that and tapping into your soul's desires and that alignment process to magnetize it to you through the embodiment of becoming. And when we manifest, again, this is part of the energy work in this book. We first bring it into our energy field, then we bring it into our cognitive mind, and then we bring it into the body. And embodiment is that embodying of the energy in your physical reality. So it is acting as if, but I basically break it down into, if you are struggling with acting as if because you've learned to spend as if or do some wild things to act as if, it's not all about spending money. It's not all about doing things. It's actually 99.9% of the time becoming, feeling, and integrating all the work that you've done. And a great example I can give you is around like the inner work. So a lot of the time I hear people say, Emma, I've read like 10 self-help books. I'm reading back-to-back self-help books. My outer reality is no different. like the inner work that I've done, it's not reflecting in the outer reality. And I say to them, okay, think about it like this. If you were taking 10 supplements to fix a health problem or something, or you just wanted to balance something in your body, and you were taking 10 different supplements, how would you know what supplement is working if you're taking 10 of them at a time? It would be impossible. You wouldn't know what's working and what's not. So the same goes with this of if you are doing too much, if you are doing constant healing modalities one after the other, you're never letting it integrate. You're never letting it settle in your body, in your mind, your cognitive mind, or your energy field. So embodiment is becoming. It's not about doing, it's about becoming and integrating the work that you've already done in those previous 3 steps.
And giving yourself the patience to live it, to be in it and live it and feel it before you're like, okay, where is it? Why isn't it here? And you also made such an important point that I don't want to skip over, which is it's often not the money. And I hear this a lot, and I say this a lot about my own journey to people to get them to recognize the money is just a thing. Money has its own energy. It ebbs and flows, and there are lots of books about this, right? So money is just an energetic thing. And I always encourage people to think, be, as you said, beyond the money. And in many times, it's really freedom that people are looking for. It's freedom to travel, freedom to do what they want, freedom to not feel bound by work. Like it's such a different thing. And when you can energetically and emotionally tap into that within yourself and what does freedom feel like, then you're focusing on something different rather than this tangible energy thing that's going to ebb and flow. And so I love that you said that because it completely aligns and applies to something that I use a lot in my own life, which is I really am trying to attract freedom. And what does freedom look and feel like to me?
And I think that allows us to let go of all outcomes as well, because we could be so fixated on, well, when I earn that amount of money, I'll have this, I'll be successful, I'll be happy, I'll feel this. But your manifestation will never bring you anything. You have to give it to yourself first. And then it manifests as a byproduct of that feeling and emotion that you've already created within yourself. So the money is not going to bring you happiness. You have to create that happiness and that sense of freedom here and now in the present moment to become an energetic match for that money, for that reality that you've been trying to manifest. So I think what you said is so great because it is that really practical example of becoming it is that embodiment.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. Okay. Can we switch gears and talk about what does wellness look like in your life? What is a day like for you for someone who focuses on manifestation, spirituality, law of attraction, walking the walk of talking the talk of what you do? What does wellness, personal wellness for you look like on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, it definitely changes, as I'm sure you know as an entrepreneur as well. It has to be flexible to my schedule a lot of the time. But my morning routine is definitely a non-negotiable for me just because it sets me up so amazingly for the day ahead. And it helps me with energy protection and, just allowing me to really enter into the day intentionally instead of kind of fumbling around and hoping for the best. So for me, as soon as I wake up, doing a gratitude practice, a short meditation, journaling if I want to, maybe pulling an oracle card, that is my ultimate favorite way to start the day. But I do always give myself a day off on Sunday because I feel like I just want to wake up and do nothing on a Sunday. So 6 days out of the week, my daily practice happens. And then really throughout the day, I think it's just, especially as an entrepreneur, I think it's so important that we are really intentional throughout our day. And I feel like previously, in years gone by when I was definitely more burnt out and stressed, I wasn't prioritizing intentional moments in the day. So for me now, creating spaciousness in my work calendar is really important so that I'm not overwhelming my nervous system or stressing myself out or feeling like I'm people pleasing or, feeling like I have to do these things. That was something that really shifted gears in my business a few years ago, where I really prioritized saying yes to the things that really aligned and also making my day fun as well so that it didn't feel like, oh, I've got like 10 back-to-back meetings. I wanted it to feel expansive. I wanted it to really support my body and, my happiness and joy levels as well. So although people may not call that a wellness tip, for me, that is wellness because it is creating the right environment for me to thrive, my body and my hormones to thrive, and my energy levels as well, and motivation and creativity. So it's all, goes hand in hand in creating, the right environment and space for me to write, for me to create the things that I create. Then in sort of like towards the end of the day, I do 2 dog walks a day with a dog. So I get a lot of walking in and fresh air and nature, which is good. But I love doing yoga. I love doing Peloton. I love doing heels dance classes. I love doing fitness and gym work as well. So some may not call that like wellness, but I think it is because it all brings me so much fun and joy. And obviously, I get to love my body as well in those. And then before bed, I'll do kind of nighttime routine as well, where I will read a book, which sometimes is self-help. A lot of the time it has been over the last 9 years, but I feel like the last year I've had a bit of a break with fiction, which I think is equally healing as well. Reading fairy smut, it definitely is healing just as much as the, self-help books. So I definitely switch between fiction and nonfiction. So I love reading before bed. That's my absolute favorite thing to do. Gratitude again, just reflecting on the day and the things that felt really good, just so that I can really switch off and go to sleep in a nice relaxed state so that I can wake up feeling relaxed and ready to do my morning practice. So I feel like that's everything I do.
And it all is wellness because you touched on mind, body, and spirit. You touched on all of it. And I think that's important for people to recognize. It's not just one, it's all of those things. And how your energy is as you're working and you're using your brain at work. Is it giving you joy? Is it giving you pleasure? Is it stressing you out? And you talked about spirituality with your gratitude practice and your meditating. And you talked about body, that exercise, movement. It's so important. You have to do it all. Like you really do in order to really tap into all of the energy that your body can have. It's not just one thing. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, I have 2 more quick questions for you. Then I've used so much of your time. So 2 questions for you. What's on your bucket list? What do you want to, like, what's on the big bucket list that you want to do?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I had like a 30 things to do before 30 list. I'm 31 now. So I have done most of them, which is amazing to even say. I feel like I've done so many things on my bucket list. I'd love to travel more. I feel like the last few years have been very work focused. Early 20s, I traveled so much and I loved it. So I really feel like I want to do some more traveling. That for me is definitely like a bucket list thing. I don't think I want to jump out a plane. I don't think my nervous system could handle that one. Or bungee jumping or anything extreme sports in bucket list. I'm not sure. I feel like I've done so many in my life already.
Well, then you have to come up with a new list then.
I'm going to have to. You've challenged me. I'm going to have to now.
You have to come up with a new list.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I want to write more books, but I just don't feel that's like very bucket list extreme. I feel like I need something like I'm going to go jump out a plane or climb a mountain or something, but I'll have to have a think.
Yeah. Or, host a retreat in Bali or, there's a lot of cool things that I interviewed someone who was a mindset coach recently. And I asked him that same question. And he said he wants to see sunsets around the world. And he's like, that actually is on my bucket list, is to see sunsets around the world. And I was like, that is such a cool idea because it's really pretty broad. And I was like, it involves traveling. And I was like, and it has a goal. And it's definitely something you can wrap your manifesting around. And I was like, ooh, that's a really good one. I like that. So,
do you know what? I think I'm going to put that on my list. You've inspired me.
Isn't it a good one? I was like, oh, that is deep. I really like that. So that was a good one. So we can add that. I'm going to add that to my list because I love sunsets. The power of the sun and the moon is so much. Okay. So before we go, I always like to ask my guests to recommend a book that has impacted them personally or professionally. Obviously, all of your books will be linked in the show notes and everything. But what book or books, some people recommend multiples, would you recommend to the listeners and to the viewers that you think they should read outside of your own?
I'm going to recommend 2. I'm going to recommend one that is like the game changer, which inspired me so much in my manifesting journey. And then I'm going to recommend a recent one I've read just because it's impacted me recently. So I talk about this book all day long, and it's The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. Wow. This was the epitome of changing everything for me in my manifesting process because I had never let go a day in my life before reading that book. I didn't know what letting go was or or surrendering. It was just alien to me. I did not know how to do those things, let alone that I had to do it in the manifesting process. So for me, that book changed everything. I remember I had it on my shelf for about a year. I think Hay House had even sent it to me. So I'd had it on my shelf for a year. And I just remember I was like feeling so helpless in a situation in my life and feeling so down and just like, why is this not shifting? Like, what can I do to like shift this? And I just went upstairs into my office and looked at my bookshelf and I was like, right, give me some inspiration, universe. What can I do? And I just felt drawn to pick it out, opened this chapter randomly. And it was, when you think you've surrendered, surrender some more. And I was like, okay. And I read the whole chapter there and then. And I was like, okay, I need to read the whole book. This is amazing. So that book 100% is so, and I still have it now. I think it's behind me up there. And it's like highlighted from like the 10 million times I've read it.
Mine too.
Pages, Ben, everything. So it's well loved.
Yep, mine too.
So yeah, that book is definitely one I always go back to for a reminder of surrendering for sure. Recent one though, which took me by surprise. I didn't think this book was going to have an impact as much as it did, but it did come in at the perfect time for me as always. And it's The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And I've heard her talk about this on social media, her podcast. So I feel like I was like, how much am I actually going to learn in this book? But actually, it really highlighted a lot to me around, again, surrendering, ironically, and surrendering to other people and what was happening. And, you know, let them do those things. So I actually really loved that book. And I think it's a great book people should read because it's changed a lot for me in my relationships, and that especially friendships was where I needed it the most. And I feel it really helped me in that season when I needed it.
Ooh, and I'm so glad you mentioned that because that book has gotten a lot of press lately. You know, she's all over the place. And I have lots of friends who are like, have you read it? Have you read it? Have you read it? And I'm like, I haven't read it. I'm not sure I'm going to learn anything. I haven't read it. So I love that you are recommending that because you know more about manifesting and the laws of attraction than I do. So I think that's really great. All right, I'm going to have to go and get that one. And the universe has your back. I actually say that phrase every day after I finish meditating. Is I thank the universe and that the universe has my back, which is amazing. Anything that I didn't ask you that you want to make sure you cover?
I think you've asked great questions. I feel like we've covered so much.
Good. I just want to make sure that we covered everything that you want to cover. And then, so I have one last question. What is your tattoo on your arm for people who can't see it?
I have 16 tattoos. People are always like, what? So this one here is always. It does need redoing. I play with having it lasered off all of the time. So whether I keep it forever, we'll see. But it's spread, unfortunately. So it was a lot thinner than it used to be. Good old skin and tattoos. So it says always. And everyone's like, oh, is it the Harry Potter quote? And it wasn't. But then I actually watched Harry Potter and watched where it was from, this scene. And I was like, oh, actually, I really love this because it's between Snape and Lily, I think. And talking about like, after all this time, I'm going to butcher the quote, but you know, after all this time, and Snape goes always, and it's about his love for Lily. So yeah, it has definitely a deep love meaning. And ironically, I had it on this arm because when when did I have it done? I want to say I was like 20 at the time, so a good 11 years ago. And I wanted it so that when I stood at the altar one day, when I would hold my partner's hand, you'd see it in the photos.
I love that. And for those who are listening, she's getting married this summer, just so we can say. I love it. I love it. You've manifested that. Oh, wow. That is really cool. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for your time. I cannot wait to read your new book, Aligned Abundance. It is so great. And as I started the show talking, you are just a really inspiring entrepreneur, and people need to go and follow you and check out your website. You have courses, you have memberships, you have books. You do so much on YouTube. You do so much on Instagram. And so we just scratched the surface on all the things. And your podcast, I don't want to forget that. Your podcast is amazing. So we just scratched the surface on all of the many things and the ways that you help people interact, learn, grow, and you've touched hundreds of thousands of people. And that is so powerful. So congratulations to you. And you are running an incredible business filled with kindness and love and very purpose-driven. So thank you so much for making the time to be a guest on the show. You are a beautiful human and very inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved it. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the House of Jermar podcast, where wellness starts within. We appreciate you being a part of our community and hope you felt inspired and motivated by our guest. If you enjoyed this episode, please write us a review and share it with friends. Building our reach on YouTube and Apple Podcasts will help us get closer to our mission to empower 1 million women to live all in. You can also follow us on Instagram at House of Germar and sign up to be a part of our monthly inspiration newsletter through our website, houseofgermar.com. If you or someone you know would be a good guest on the show, please reach out to us at podcast@houseofgermar.com. This has been a House of Germar production with your host, Jean Collins. Thank you for joining our house.